Hello, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to my rant show because this is a rant. This is going to be a rant, and I didn't want to do it during the match reaction show. You don't get a lot of time, and I kind of wanted to, set it aside. And normally I wait till the evening and like cool down a little bit, and then maybe I can do some reactions. But what I realize is that oftentimes I get lazy, and I just want to talk about this. So I moved on. I've kind of found my happy place when I'm playing FIFA or then watching wrestling or whatever. And I'm like, now I don't want to feel bad again. I don't want to feel sad and angry again and go into that mode of doing the rant show. So I didn't want to do it then. So I thought maybe I'll do it now because it's got a bit of time before the Barcelona game, which I will be watching. So I thought let me just do it now. So this is a rant show. If you do want to join and share in your comments in the chat, of course, always happy to hear your thoughts and your comments if you're watching this show. You can also share them, of course, if you're not watching it live and you're watching it later. Put them in the comments. I do sometimes. I do like to read your comments, and I do respond to the comments that come through, as you can probably see from the previous videos. But nonetheless, let's get into it. It was a dismal performance. I mean, let's cut right to the chase. It was a dismal performance for Manchester United. It wasn't a good performance. The sad part is it wasn't unexpected. Like if anybody has followed Manchester United for since preseason, as I have been doing, and as many of you who've been watching this channel would have been doing, the reality is this wasn't a shock because you expected it. I expected it. Like I expected this result to come. And some might say jinxing, whatever, but no. Logically speaking, this result was expected. But this video is not a Ten Hag out video. Like anybody who's thinking this is a Ten Hag out video, prepare to be disappointed. It's not a Ten Hag out video, and I'll address this right at the start because I want to kind of get this out of the way because the focus of this video really is not. It says Ten Hag is in trouble, but really the problems or the troubles are elsewhere. And it's not him necessarily. Now, there's a lot of talk about why he took off Hojlund. And it's like he's still fit. He's not fit. He's just had 2 games for Denmark. He's just coming back from injury. He's only had 30 minutes on the field before. International football doesn't get you fitness. Yes, it gives you a little bit of match practice and you play, but the Premier League intensity is completely different to playing other teams that you play in especially in Europe. That doesn't prepare you for that. So I fully expect that he wasn't going to last 90 minutes, and Ten Hag is a stickler for that. He's only going to play 64. There's a big game coming up against Bayern Munich, which Hojlund has to start that game, and he's going to be doing a lot of work in that game as well. So you can't have a player like that playing 90 minutes. I don't know why anybody expected him to play 90 minutes. He shouldn't have. Now, Rashford shouldn't have played 90 minutes, and that's fair. Rashford shouldn't have played 90 minutes, but that doesn't have any bearing on what Rasmus Hojlund was doing because I believe that Ten Hag is like that. He already knows in his mind this player can only play 60 minutes, and he's only going to play 60 minutes no matter what. This player can only play 30 minutes, so he's only going to play 30 minutes no matter what. That's how Ten Hag is. That's how he operates. Anybody who's seen him for the last year will know that. So I don't know why people are getting so upset about him being taken off. That was natural. It was going to happen. He had to come off because he is not fit. That's the end of story. Now you can debate whether he's not, maybe Ten Hag is being too, stubborn, and yeah, he is fit. He could have played. That's fair, but that's the manager's decision. It wasn't because Hojlund played badly. It wasn't because Hojlund, was having any kind of vendetta. It was simply the fact that he's not fit enough, according to Ten Hag, to play 90 minutes. And had he played another 5 minutes, you don't know what might have happened. Maybe you would have picked up a knock, an injury. Maybe somebody would have tackled him, and things can happen. So you need to protect your players, and Hojlund had to be protected, and it got taken off. That's that. People are talking about some of the tactics. Yes, they were not that good. There's talk about him spending a lot of money. 350 million euros spent. What has happened now for this one? It always irks me, right? And you can see that it really irks me because I feel a lot of people who say that are people who play FIFA on FIFA career mode, right? Where when you play career mode on FIFA, what do? You're the manager, right? Technically, you're the manager, but you scout the players and you sign the players, so you decide how much transfer money you pay. You decide what salaries they're on. You decide who to scout, where to scout. That's not how football works in real life. That is not real life. In real life, the managers don't do that. The manager doesn't go and talk to the club and decide how much money they're going to pay or how much they're going to sell a player for. That's the job of the director of football. That's what John Murtagh is supposed to do. He's supposed to get the best possible deal for players going out and the best possible deal for players coming in. It's his job to decide how much money a player is going to be on. The manager doesn't go that. Now, the manager may be told that, listen, XYZ player is going to cost me 75. I can't get them to go below 75 million pounds. 75 million pounds the price. Are you okay with us paying 75 million pounds for this play? In the sense that, do you have an alternative? Right? Is this a player that you really want and will pay 75 million? Or is this a player that, that maybe or should we look at another option? Right? And that's fair, but Ten Hag doesn't go. But that's the job of Murta and someone to go and say 75 million pounds is too much. I'm going to pay you 60, 65. Hojlund is not 80 million pounds or whatever, a 70 million pound striker. A good competent director of football could have got Hojlund for maybe 60 million pounds, right? These things, these Rashford shouldn't be paid 375,000 pounds a week, but he's earning that because he knows that he can take United. XX for a ride. Every player and every agent and every club knows that they can take Manchester United for a ride, money wise. But that's not Ten Hag. Ten Hag doesn't go and do those negotiations. That only happens on FIFA. In real life, it's Arnold, it's Murta, those guys who go and do those negotiations. And that's everywhere, by the way. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola doesn't go and sit and does negotiations with clubs for transfer fees and wages. He gives a list of players that he wants, and then it's up to the club to go and get the players based on the budget. If the budget is too much, or if the players costing too much, they then go and tell Pep, well, you know what, this cannot work. Find us another player. Or do you really want this player? And we're going to have to pay this much, but it's going to impact the budget for another signing. That's how it works. It's all an ecosystem. I keep saying this. I think I've said this so many times. Football clubs today, they are not in. There is no silos. It's not the manager works in his own world and does everything, has full freedom. It's all about working as a team. It's about an ecosystem. And in an ecosystem, you can have one or two passengers maybe, but if you want to be a top club, everything has to work in sync. Everything has to work together, not independent of each other, but together with each other. Everybody moves in the same direction. At Manchester United, everybody's a passenger because nobody has any freaking clue as to what they're doing. The players don't know that. The manager doesn't know that. The executives don't know that. The coaches don't know that. The owners themselves don't know that. It's a problem across the board. And that is why you can't beat Ten Hag out, because Ten Hag doesn't go and sit and, he doesn't decide how much money he's going to spend. He only gives a list of players that he wants. And the club, most of the times, inevitably, because they can never seem to get proper deals done, they end up overpaying for players. And, and then, it's the manager who has to take the stick for having spent so much when they have not spent at all. So you can't beat Ten Hag out for spending money, because he doesn't spend money. It is the club that decides how much money will be spent on a player. And unfortunately, because they are crap at their job, they are in jobs that they shouldn't be in. This is what happens. Anyway, right? Again, you are Glazers out, and the theme of the video. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all if it is Glazers out, it has to be Glazers out, but it's not Ten Hag out. And I don't want to make this like a whole thing about Glazers out. There will be some at the end, I'm sure, but I really don't want to overwhelm this video with that, because there are other issues to talk about as well beyond the ownership. And that brings me to the players, to the game and to the players. Now, there's a lot of issues with the players, and I think there's a lot of chat on social media about Marcus Rashford. And I'm glad that people are pointing it out, because I'm pretty sure the commentators will ignore it. I'm pretty sure the pundits and the ex-players will ignore it. But Marcus Rashford is a major problem in that team. He's got a new contract as well, and that is always a problem. When the players get new contracts, then they stop performing. Martial got a new contract, stopped performing. Bruno Fernandes got a new contract. Took him a while to get his level back. So thankfully, he hasn't been someone who's lost his level. Seems to be doing okay. But so many players get new contracts, and then suddenly they think they've made it. Marcus Rashford in the same boat. He has got a new contract, and suddenly things have got into his head. He thinks he's a 400,000 pound a week player. He's not. He's not that good. He's not as good as he thinks he is. And like I said, he's a liability for the team, because he makes Manchester United one-dimensional. He makes Manchester United play a certain way that maybe where to the point where they think that that's the only way that they can play. That the kind of he limits Manchester United, and I think the Manchester United players limit themselves because they keep thinking that Marcus Rashford is the answer. He shouldn't have played the full 90. I think he should have been taken off. Garnacho should have come on. Maybe Pellistri could have done a better job as well, but I don't think he plays left wing. But he shouldn't have stayed on. But the problem is he stays on because he's on so much money. He has so much influence in that club. I mean, there was a report that there was a 150 million pound offer from Saudi Arabia, and Manchester United rejected it because they didn't consider him for sale. That's the kind of influence that the guy has over the club. He's a big marketing. We know Manchester United are a marketing organization disguised as a football club, right? And I think Marcus Rashford is a big cog in that marketing machine. And the fact, I mean, if I was the owner, I would have considered it. Like I said it, right? I think last season, and this is not a let's go on Rashford today, right? I said it last season that if somebody came in and offered 80 million pounds for Marcus Rashford, I would seriously consider that offer. I would do it. I would think about long and hard if I want to keep him. And I watched Rafael Leao today play for AC Milan. AC Milan sucked, by the way. But Rafael Leao scored such a good goal, and he plays left wing. And I think he's a much better player than Marcus Rashford. I think Garnacho is a better player than Marcus Rashford as well. Garnacho excites me a lot more than Marcus Rashford ever does. Because with Marcus Rashford, you know what you're going to get. He's going to get the ball in space, and then he's going to run in a straight line, or maybe sometimes he'll go a little bit vertical if he can find space, and then either he will go to the byline and he will try to dribble past the player, lose the ball, or if he gets past it, then he will dribble a little bit more and see if he can work an angle to take a shot. If not, he will then delay it for as long as possible until everybody has got back in position. Then he will try a cut back to find a striker, right? In today's case, or otherwise he will run the ball out of play and then play a cut back, which will be called out of play. So that's Marcus Rashford. Rashford is very predictable in how he plays, and because he's good at what he does. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not good at what he does. He's predictable, but he's good at what he does. The problem is, because he's good at what he does, Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, they keep trying to find him. They keep trying to feed him because they think that this is the answer. Whereas Rasmus Hojlund, at so many points, he had good positions where maybe they could have played him and maybe he could have brought others into play, done something, but they just kept ignoring him because they kept looking for Rashford channel. It doesn't work, and sometimes you've got to look for other options. And that's why I said I feel he's just limiting this team. But Ten Hag has to take responsibility for keeping him on for that long, for not being able to, for not being having, I don't know whether it's not having the guts, whether it's not having the creativity, innovation, whatever, to take him off. Kept him on, and didn't make a difference. By the time Garnacho came on, the game was already up. Like, it was already gone. I don't know why he waited till the 85th minute to bring him on. Maybe saving him for Bayern. I don't know. But yeah, that was surprising. Casemiro, for me, another player who's a big problem. I don't know what's happened to him. I think since that red card that he got against Southampton, he hasn't been the same player mentally. And now I think physically that is catching up to him as well. He's not looking good either. I don't know what's wrong with him. His passing, his defensive awareness was always spot on. Physically, he wasn't as good in being able to, like, sometimes the mind knows what it wants to do, and as you get older, the body is not able to do what the mind wants you to do. And that was the thing with Casemiro last year. This year, his body is obviously not, has gotten even worse, but even his mind is not there. Like, so many times he gets caught out of position. His passing is not that good either. I just don't know. What's happened to him. Is it finally the decline is coming in like it was supposed to happen last year? Maybe it's coming this year. It's possible. And if it is, then it's a big trouble for Manchester United, because I don't think Amrabat is an out and out CDM. He can play there, but he's not an out and out CDM. Scott McTominay is useless. So who plays in that CDM role that Ten Hag wants to play? And that is a massive issue again that's going to crop up as well. And this is what happens. Who knew that spending £60 million on a player that Real Madrid didn't want, was going to lead to this? Yeah, maybe he's not here for a paycheck, but he's not. He's just. The decline was inevitable, right? You pay £60 million for a player who's on. He would have had a good season last year, fair enough. But you always knew this was coming. So how many years was he going to give you? A year, maybe two? Do you really spend £60 million on a player who's going to give you 2 good years at most, right? I mean, again, it was going to decline with Casemiro. If not this year, it would happen next year, right? That was inevitable. Players age, players decline. That happens to everybody, and you knew with Casemiro it was coming. The point is, you pay £60 million to someone who's at least going to be good for 4 or 5 years. United just pay £60 million to someone who's going to be good for 2 years at most, and they spend that money because it was a panic buy. It wasn't a planned decision. It was a panic buy from a club that had lost out, that had its face, blackened and dipped into the mud through that Frenkie de Jong saga. And then they were like, well, who can we get to appease the fans? So they went and they got Casemiro. And credit to him, he did as well as he could last year. But this year, age has caught up to him. And more, as I watch Manchester United, I'm realizing now that I think Ten Hag really pushed this team a lot last season to get to third place, because this team wasn't a third place team. Let's be honest. Last year, I predicted them to finish 8th, and that's where they should have finished. Maybe 6th or 7th at best. This is not a third place team. The reason why they finished third is because Ten Hag really pushed them a lot. He really worked hard off the pitch in improving many of these players. And a lot of these players have performed over their level, over their regular level. A lot of them did. Marcus Rashford did. Anthony at times did. Bruno Fernandes did. Varane, Martinez did. Shaw did. Dalot and MUNBHA both did. So a lot of these players, even that De Gea for that matter, performed above his level. A lot of them performed above their level, and a lot of them now, many of those who are at the club, have suffered injuries because they pushed themselves so hard. They just can't go anymore. A lot of them are unfit. A lot of them are getting injured because they're breaking down. Because that's what happens when you strain yourself to that level. You do suffer for it later, and so that's what's happened. That's why there's so many injuries, and that's why so many players off the pace. Lisandro Martinez, for example, he's struggling. He's struggling fitness wise. He's struggling. He doesn't look as fit. He doesn't look as sharp. He doesn't look like his mind or his body is in it. It is just a mess with him as well, and that's another problem. I don't know how they're going to fix that. And again, that's why the summer was so critical, because United last season they had an 11 that could go toe to toe with any team in the world, right? Because they did beat Manchester City. Yes, it was controversial, but they beat Manchester City, and Manchester City were the best team in the world last year. So toe to toe they could go with any team. The problem was when you started losing players from that 11, the other players weren't able to step up. And that was what really this summer should have been about, was just to build out that squad, get more players in that would make you stronger as a squad. Get yourself 6 players. And I said, backing, it's not about money, it's about players. 6 players were needed: 2 midfielders, a centre back, a goalkeeper, a striker, and another. You want another fullback. I don't know if you need another fullback, but 6 players were needed. Yeah, 6 players. You could say we needed a fullback maybe, but 6 players were needed. He didn't get it. Most of it, he got a goalkeeper and he got an attacking midfielder, which wasn't really needed. He got a striker, which was supposed to be a backup striker, and he got another central midfielder eventually in on loan, who's injured now. And the only reason that and again, they would have known about Amrabat. Had they moved quick on Amrabat, they would have known that Amrabat was injured and maybe we shouldn't sign him. But doing this on deadline day, there were no other alternatives. So they had to bring him in because they had to bring somebody in. So now they brought him in. Amrabat, I don't know when he's going to be fit and when he's going to play. Back injuries are very tricky. You don't always recover from them quickly. So if he does have a back injury, he could be out for weeks. He could be out for months. No idea when he's going to be back. Now maybe he'll be back on playing on Bayern against Bayern maybe, but I've heard nothing, and we never hear anything about injuries for Manchester United. So I just don't know what's going to happen with Amrabat either. And that's just, to me, there is so much wrong at the moment that's going on wrong at the club, and a lot of it is just trouble after trouble. I mean, Anthony, hopefully that case will be resolved soon. Sancho looks like he's done. It's just a mess. And what I will say about Ten Hag though, what another thing that's wrong is, once you realize the 4-1-2-1-2 was not working. I thought it was an interesting innovation. I think the players that were used were wrong. I don't think Rasmus Hojlund should be playing in a 4-1-2-1-2. He should be playing as a lone striker. You don't play him alongside somebody, and especially not someone like Rashford. But it was interesting. But once it didn't work, you go back to your 4-2-3-1. You go back to that. You stop. It's not working. You got to change it up. You got to go back. Bruno cannot play as a right winger. The problem was Bruno couldn't play as a right winger. So as soon as you get into halftime, you're 1-0 down, but you just about created a chance that should have been a goal. You go, right, I'm going to go to a 4-2-3-1. Let me bring on Pellistri. Let me bring on Garnacho, whoever. But I want to go to a 4-2-3-1. Let me take off maybe Eriksen or McTominay. Neither of them really did anything much anyway. Eriksen or McTominay, neither of them really covered themselves in glory. So you take one of them off, bring on Pellistri or Garnacho. You play, right wing. And you play 4-2-3-1 and you work from there. There's a stubbornness. And I have to blame Ten Hag for that. There was stubbornness from him to not change that up. I wonder what's going to happen against Bayern, because for me, the big problem with Bayern is Bayern are relentless. They've just, they drew with Bayer Leverkusen, and that's going to hurt them a lot. They're going to be coming strong against Manchester United. They will want to make a statement. Harry Kane will want to make a statement. This is the big stage for him to be playing on. He's going to want to make a statement. Goretzka will want to make a statement. There are players that are going to be really, really up for it. And Manchester United are going to suffer for it. I mean, there are gaps that United could exploit. I've watched Bayern, and there are ways that they can hurt them. But I just don't think United have the quality to actually exploit those weaknesses. So it's going to be a tough game. And I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to go with a 4-2-3-1? Will he play a 4-2-3-1? Try and maybe use Garnacho on the right wing. Maybe bring Pellistri in on the right wing. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe play Dalot on the right wing. Do something. But the changes need to happen, and maybe that could be the case. Play Van der Sar and Dalot both on the right, one as a right midfielder, one as a right back. That could be an option, and might be worth considering, because what's going on right now is just shambolic. The key issue though is that midfield, and I just don't know what combination of midfield three would work. I was impressed with Hannibal, but I don't think he should start the game against Bayern. I'd rather he started the game against Burnley, because if he starts the game against Bayern and United gets smashed, which they will, right? There might be talk of, well, why did you play Hannibal? And Ten Hag be like, Hannibal, shouldn't play, and I won't play Hannibal. So I'd rather Hannibal doesn't start that game. Let him start the game against Burnley. I that would be better, but I don't know how Ten Hag is going to operate. And the only reason why Hannibal should start the game against Bayern is if the agreement is that no matter what happens in this game, I will still start him against Burnley because he's impressed me. Not that I'm going to play you against Bayern, but if you suck in the game against Bayern, I'm gonna go back to picking my favorites. That shouldn't happen. Unfortunately, I'm not the manager, so I don't know what's going on in his mind. But that's a concern for me to see Hannibal start. But Yeah, I mean, and the other part, of course, is who's coming. Like, there's just nothing. There's just no bench strength. There's nobody coming in January for sure. The club is a mess. The Glazers don't seem to be leaving. I don't, we're supposed to get something by mid October. We have not even heard anything. There's supposed to be something by mid October happening. At the moment, the only news that's coming is that the Glazers are still trying to get Sir Jim Ratcliffe to buy so that they can stick around the club and they can have voting power and all that. And I will blame the United fans, and I'm part of that as well. I think we haven't done our job as well, because when you think about it, Everton didn't want their owners, and now Mojiri sold his stake and moved on. He's left the club. They've been able to initiate that change. They didn't want to know what owner. They kept protesting. They kept fighting, and he's gone. Maybe it's because Everton sucked, and Mojiri probably realized that if Everton get relegated, his investment will be will be bankrupt, and maybe for that he left. And maybe Glazers don't feel that way because Manchester United are a commercial behemoth. But still, either way, there's got to be some action that the club can take to push the owners that they don't want out. But that being said, it doesn't look like they're going anywhere. So if they're not going anywhere, there's going to be no signings in January. And if there are no signings in January, uh, God help, I only God can predict where only God knows where Manchester United are going to finish. I can't predict. If the Glazers around and there are no transfers in January, they might finish. The Conference League position at the moment looks like an optimistic prediction. I predicted sixth, and I feel like sixth is an optimistic prediction because you've already got the only team on the top six, and the big six that are probably right now out is Chelsea. So that leaves you five. Then you still got Brighton, who are absolutely incredible right now, and they'll finish. They'll probably finish six. Aston Villa look really good. Maybe they will fall off if they go deep in the Conference League. So maybe that opens up a spot. Maybe, but then you still got West Ham, who are around as well. They look good. So right now, even seventh looks like a very optimistic prediction to make. And like I said it in the video previously, I just don't know where Manchester United are going to get wins from. And right now, the only team that I can see them beating in the Premier League is Luton. Maybe Sheffield too, maybe. But Luton are the only team that I can confidently say, yeah, United could beat that team. At every other team, I would say, you know what? I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee that they're going to win that game. And of course, there are no guarantees in football. They could end up losing to Luton too. But how you confidently predict, right? Yeah, you know what? I feel like we're going to get a win today. I don't feel like that about any team. About any team aside from Luton, I don't get that feeling that United could win today. I'm optimistic about this game, and that is a big, big worry. Now that doesn't mean United won't win games. I don't want to sit here and say United will never win a game again this season. No, no, no. What I'm just saying is that there is no confidence in predicting that United are going to win games, and that is a big, big concern. And finally, on the last concern, I'll talk about some positives after this because I think this video has been quite negative. So I will talk about some positives, but I will talk about the other negatives, Andre Onana. Now, for me, when it comes to Onana, what I will say is that it wasn't the wrong decision to let De Gea go. Now, and I put this video. Like we've said this multiple times. I didn't think De Gea was the number one problem at the club. And to be honest, I would have probably kept him another season. I might have. But you have to understand the concern that probably would have been on United's mind is, will anyone buy him? If you give him a new contract, will anyone buy him? And from that perspective, when you look at that, De Gea has not been snapped up as a free agent. Three clubs needed new goalkeepers this season: Inter, Bayern, Real Madrid. All three of them rejected him. None of them wanted him as a free agent. Right? All three of them have rejected him as an option, as a goalkeeping option. No club from Saudi Arabia has been interested in signing him as well. Saudi Arabia have been signing players from everywhere, and they haven't signed him. He's actually got a good name recognition, being a former Manchester United player, being a Premier League Golden Glove winner. Nobody has signed him. There is a reason for that. He is not the kind of goalkeeper that works anymore. And to be honest, he did make a lot of high profile mistakes last season. There were a lot of games where his goalkeeping cost Manchester United points and cost Manchester United victories, especially in critical knockout games. So from all that perspective, it was not the wrong decision to let him go. I just don't think replacing him with Onana was the right decision. I don't know. I just feel like his shot stopping is very, very average, even below average if I were to be harsh. His shot stopping is not that good. Maybe we are pampered with the hair shot stopping, but he just seems very painfully average. He gives me Claudio Bravo vibes in the way that he plays, and that he's okay on the ball, he's good on the ball, but when it comes to saving goals and being commanding, he doesn't necessarily do that role very, very well. Now maybe he's trying to settle into a new role and into this team of that's completely in disarray. It's a defense in disarray. Goalkeepers like stable backlines. He hasn't had that stable backline, and maybe when he gets that, he will get better. I hope. But right now, the signs are not looking good for him. And that is a major problem. Even the playing out from the back. most of the time United don't have a midfield that can take advantage of that, right? There's no midfielder that can pick up the ball and move forward with it. And all he's doing is when he has the ball, he has to play long balls over the top to whom? To Mr. Marcus Rashford, because apparently that's the only player you can play it to, right? So it is a problem. And like I said, I would like to see if Bayern plays the game against Crystal Palace, the Carabao Cup. I'd like to see that and see what he's got about him, because he's someone who's got a little bit of a reputation as well. So maybe might be worth checking him out. But at the moment, the signs are not that good for Onana, and I worry for him. I really worry for him. And the big worry is that when Manchester City made the mistake of replacing Hart with Bravo, they corrected it next season by bringing in Edison. Will United do that? Will they say, right, Onana was a mistake, let's bring in another goalkeeper? They won't. They'll say, no, you got to make that work, because we don't have a lot of money to spend. So it's a problem. It's a major problem for Manchester United. The major problem is Manchester United. And I think all I will end the negativity on is by saying I think there's a lot that needs to change. And I've been saying this before as well. That club needs to be broken down. It needs to be destroyed, and it needs to be rebuilt all over. And by destroyed, I don't mean one manager. The people saying that let Ten Hag go bring in the Zerbi. That's not going to change anything. Again, we go back to the ecosystem point. The Zerbi doesn't go out and negotiate for place. The Zerbi, people saying, oh, the Zerbi lost Moises Caicedo. Doesn't matter. He's found a way to win anyway. Doesn't work that way. With Manchester United, you don't. With Manchester United, certain players have to play no matter what. Certain players have power over selection, over influence, and a manager tries to get out of that. They're not able to. Right, the players who sulk, it doesn't work. You can't get rid of players. If Ten Hag has his way, McTominay and Maguire and Evans are not going to be there, but they're there because Ten Hag doesn't have his way. He has to work within the constraints of what he has been provided, and because of that, nobody, even he himself has pretty much, he has the body language of a guy who's given up. He's basically gone, I can't do any more with this team. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is I'll change a few things, but he's almost like, yeah, he's waiting to be sacked as well, or he's waiting for the owners to go. He's waiting for something to change, but he almost has the look of the guy who knows, I can't make that change. I need somebody to change it for me, and that is never a good sign for a club or for a manager. So I'm not optimistic about things turning around. But that being said, he has that look. I don't know where the club is going to go, but I will talk about positives, and I think there are a few positives. The big positive, of course, was Hojlund. Played quite well today. I think he looked very good. The finish was very, very good. Sadly, it was cancelled out, but that finish was very good. He had a lot to offer. Unfortunately, Manchester United have the Rashford obsession, so he didn't get to do much. And even when he did get the ball, he was almost obligated to pass it to Rashford. But he showed some good touches, and I think he's someone who United can build a team around. I think he looked good. I thought Hannibal Mabry looked good as well. Another positive that was there, that I think, and I would like to see more of him. As I said, I don't want him to start against Bayern. I want him to start against Burnley, because I really want to see what he's all about. And I think Burnley would be a good game to start him in. And I want to see, because he's someone who impresses me quite a bit. He's someone who could be a Ten Hag type player, because not only can he pass well and shoot well, obviously, but he's also someone who can carry the ball. I think Manchester United need more of those ball carriers. So I hope that's someone. The one thing that Manchester United do have is they have a lot of good young players. They've got Garnacho, they've got Pellistri, Hojlund, Mabry. They've also got Kobe Mainu, who I've not spoken much about, but I do feel he's kind of like a Ten Hag project. I think Ten Hag sees him as another Frankie De Jong. And Ten Hag has his obsession with Frankie De Jong. He wants another Frankie De Jong. Unfortunately, they don't make Frankie De Jongs, in abundance. But I think maybe he sees Mainu as someone who could be a Frankie De Jong type of replacement. I do feel that, and maybe if he wasn't injured, we'd be seeing more of him now. But I do feel that. So there's a good crop of young players. They're not necessarily world class talents. They're not going to become world class players, all of them. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's a good nucleus to build on. The problem is these are young players. They need older players to guide them, but the older players are not worth guiding them. And you're not going to see the results of playing these young players now. The young players need 2-3 years. I think many of them will need a year, 2 years to blossom. Will anybody have patience with the manager for that long? Will anybody have patience with these players for that long? Managers don't seem to last that long to be able to even reap the rewards. But there is something to build there for Manchester United. If a manager can, if Ten Hag can grow a set or is allowed to have his way, whichever case it is. If he can tell Marcus Rashford, and this is something that Ferguson did, right? And it immediately got me thinking when I remember the rumors that Ferguson told Scholes, he told Rooney, he told Giggs, he said, if you don't find Robin Van Persie, you're not playing. I want you to get the ball to Robin Van Persie. That's what I want you to do. And maybe Ten Hag needs to tell that to Marcus Rashford. He needs to tell that to Bruno Fernandes, to Casemiro, to Eriksen, to whoever, Anthony, whoever. He's got to say, I want you to find Rasmus Hojlund. Rasmus Hojlund is a striker. I want you to feed the ball to him. If you can't feed the ball to him, you're not playing. That's it. right? And so that's maybe that needs to be communicated. Will he have the set to do that, to tell these kind of players who think that they're bigger than the club? Will he be able to tell Marcus Rashford that? Will he be able to tell Bruno Fernandes that? Will they listen to him, or will they ignore him and go, right, this guy's gonna go, it's gonna be sacked soon anyway, so let's screw him over? Those are things. And will the owners back him? There's a lot of questions, and unfortunately, very few answers at this moment. But if you are looking for some positive, I think the positives are that United do have something. There is some young players there with talent who can be nurtured, and maybe just maybe one day they could do something. But whether United will have the patience with them, that's another matter. And I don't know. I wouldn't be optimistic about that at this moment in time. But if you are an optimistic person, that is something you can hold on to. Anyway, on that note, rant over. There's a lot more that I can talk about. Actually, I can talk about the ownership. I can talk about the scouting, the academy. I mean, there's so many things we can talk about. But I will keep it short because there's a Barcelona game that I want to watch. So I'm gonna go do that now. Do share your thoughts, of course. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't agree with me. Let me know in the comments. Always love to hear from you guys. And it's good. It's always good to have conversations. So do that. If you do feel inclined, do share your comments. Smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it. It's really more of a rant. So that's what it is, right? So do smash a like, and if you like, yeah, it's kind of weird asking some people to like a rant, but if you did like the rant, do smash a like. And subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're getting very close to 410 subscribers on YouTube. Do follow us on that. We've done a few videos today, so do check them out, and there'll be a couple more coming as well. So subscribe to get notified as they drop. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.